Okay, so forget about that not being smart. That was wrong. The Right Honourable Geoffrey Cox MP is the Attorney General of the United Kingdom, and anyone who is a patriot shows respect for the great officers of state of our nation. And let's consider it another way as well. So, the Right Honourable Geoffrey Cox MP, the Attorney General, is considering whether or not to retry Tommy Robinson on charges of contempt of court. And there is Tommy Robinson showing abject contempt for the office and the person of the Attorney General. Now, that aside, we all have our opinions. My opinion from what I've seen of Geoffrey Cox seems to me a very decent and honourable man. And I can understand the reasons why he has decided it is in the public interest to refer the contempt charges against Tommy Robinson back for retrial. And I could see reasons why he may have decided to leave those charges on file, given what the wrong that Tommy Robinson suffered in the way that the law was misapplied against him and what he went through in prison. We all saw his condition coming out of prison. But let's just think about this a little bit. So the Attorney General is weighing up the public interest argument for proceeding with a retrial against Tommy Robinson for contempt, and Tommy Robinson expresses abject contempt for him. I wonder what effect that had on the balance of the argument in favour of it being in the public interest to bring Tommy Robinson back to court again for contempt. So that's what I will say about that. But it all comes back to the fact that whatever criticism you may have of Tommy Robinson, and I'm not a supporter, I guess you could say I'm a very sympathetic skeptic. Whatever criticism you can have of Tommy Robinson is hugely courageous and deserves the utmost respect and admiration for the courage he has had in telling the truth about Islam, for what he's been willing to suffer and sacrifice for the love of country to help us to get real about Islam. And so I am going to be putting the link down in the description of where you can go to make a donation to Tommy Robinson's legal fees. And we'll be putting a little something towards that. And if you admire courage and if you admire commitment, regardless of what else you might think of Tommy Robinson, I would ask you to consider making a little contribution yourself to his defence funds. How will things go? We shall wait and see. I believe Tommy Robinson has a strong defence, mindful of what the Attorney General has said, that this is a live legal matter and to avoid contempt of court oneself, even though I'm in Spain and I guess away beyond his reaches. But these things must be respected. But I believe he has a strong defence. I believe that if elements of his video, of his live feed, did constitute contempt, a lot of traffic going on in the background, sorry about that. If elements of his live feed did constitute contempt, I believe that the overall content of his video would outweigh those elements. But legally, I do not know how that stands. I'm certainly not a lawyer. We're all barrack room lawyers in our own way, I guess, but that is beyond my That's beyond my scope of understanding of how the law works in regards to these matters. And another thing, just out of interest, this is a civil matter, but the appeal court judge, the highest judge in the land, said that it's civil, but it's criminal in all but name. And what that leads me to wonder is, on what basis is Tommy Robinson's guilt or innocence being judged? Is it being judged on the criminal burden of proof of beyond reasonable doubt, or as a civil matter, is it being judged on the civil burden of proof on the balance of probabilities, i.e., if there's 51% grounds for believing that he's guilty, then he is found guilty. So that's an interesting point in itself. If anyone knows the answer to that, I would be very glad and interested if you could write your comment in the background. But anyway, just a quick video. Tommy Robinson deserves the backing of all those who respect patriotism and courage, as huge a big a nonk as he can be at times. But we can forgive him for that. His heart is definitely in the right place, and he is doing a great service to his nation, even though he doesn't always go about it the way that everyone would like him to, even though he doesn't keep the company that we would all like him to. He does keep, nonetheless, some very good company. He's got his Jew crew of Ezra Levant and Avi Yemeni and Brian Thomas, Brian of London. And if you have your Jew crew behind you, you can't be going too wrong in life. Anyway, end of video. Let's see how this thing plays out. Take care.
And the message to the establishment: it's death, prison, or glory. Good night.